16 new cases today. That takes the total for the outbreak now to 59 cases here in Victoria. 14,000 primary close contacts, 217 exposure sites. It's an increase of 50 on yesterday. And as the Premier said, over 53,000 test results received. That's 100,000 test results over the last 2 days. And my thanks to all those Victorians who came out and got tested in the last few days. And of course, the testing crews that are making all that possible. I'll run through briefly the new cases and just an update on the exposure sites of real concern. We have 5 new cases today linked to the Ms Frankie's restaurant in Cremorne. That's the first 5. 1 staff member and 4 patrons, making it a total of 8 people associated with that restaurant who are now COVID positive. We have 4 new household contacts in the City of Hume exposure, again part of an extended family connection. So we now have a total of 10 cases in the City of Hume cluster, but those 4 new cases take us to 9 for today. We have 3 new cases associated with Trinity Grammar, 1 a student, 1 a staff member, and 1 household contact. That takes us to 12 for today. We have 2 contacts from AAMI Park, from the Wallabies versus France game at AAMI Park. Both were in the area of the stands of concern, sections 20 to 23, coming in through gate 7. We have sent a lot of messaging to people who were at the Wallabies game on the Tuesday night. I'd really urge everybody, please check and confirm where you were in that stand. If you came in through gate 7, if you're in sections 20 to 23, you must come and get tested and isolate. That takes us to 14 cases for today. We have an existing primary close contact of the group of friends who went to Phillip Island. That takes us to 15. And then finally, a teacher from the Bacchus Marsh Grammar, which takes us to 16 new cases for today. All existing exposure sites in areas of known concern. In addition, this morning, literally in the last hour, we have another positive case confirmed in Mildura. My understanding at this point in time, it's a man in his 30s who was at the MCG for the Carlton-Geelong game last Saturday or Saturday before last. We're obviously working with him and his extended close contacts. My understanding at this point is he was in the level 2 of the MCC reserve and will of course continue to share any other information we have during the course of today. Currently there are 4 public exposure sites where we've seen significant community transmission in this outbreak to date. That includes the MCG, now with 6 cases, including our Mildura case. We have over 2,000 primary close contacts and we're making good progress on getting negative test results, with around half of those returning negative test results. The numbers do keep shifting around. At AAMI Park, and AAMI Park is a significant area of focus for us today, we have now 3 confirmed cases, as well as the index case, over 1,700 identified primary close contacts. We really need you, if you haven't been tested yet, to come forward and get tested. We're very keen to close down what exposure we've seen at AAMI Park. Frankie's restaurant I've referred to, we've seen 8 cases there. There was a large dining group that was there with also some exposure to staff members. We have 212 primary close contacts and seeing test results come in for them. And then, of course, Young and Jackson's, we haven't seen any recent cases turn positive there. 313 primary close contacts, so some more have come through in the last 24 hours. Around 60% of those have returned a negative test result. The other exposure sites where we've seen other forms of transmission, but they're generally speaking more closed sites, the Ariel apartments, we've seen no new cases recently, and over 3/4 of those primary close contacts have returned to negative results. Bacchus Marsh Grammar, we've seen some exposures in the staff body. Most of the staff have now returned negative test results. We are extending our testing to all the students, but half the students have been tested so far and returned a negative result. I expect the remainder of those to come in over the next day or so. Trinity Grammar has got 3 positive cases in total so far. Again, we're extending testing to the student cohort, 2,200 primary close contacts. Around 40% of the students have returned a negative test result. Again, I expect the remainder over the course of today and tomorrow. And then finally, obviously our City of Hume cluster, over 70% negative test results on those. And Barwon Heads Primary continues to run smoothly, no positive cases there. Over 80% of those results have come back negative. And finally, the naval base at Cerberus, all those results have come back as negative. Obviously, we continue to isolate a number of people, but please, we've seen no evidence of onward transmission at this stage. As the Premier said, we continue to expand and extend our testing operations. A big day yesterday and the day before. The showground site at Ascot Vale opened this morning at 6 o'clock and will run through to 10 o'clock. And most of the sites yesterday were running pretty busy until the middle of the afternoon, much quieter in the end of the afternoon and early evening. So I would please, with many of our sites open to 7 p.m. and 8 p.m, and 10 p.m. in the case of the showgrounds, please check later during the day. We do have live updates on our website about how the queues are running at the various testing sites. Also a big shout out to the Basque Coast Health team. I know they were very busy yesterday at Wonthaggi, at Leongatha, at San Remo, and at Cowes. We have expanded further, or they've expanded further, testing at Cowes, especially today, and my thanks to them for the sterling efforts of that team across a big piece of our state. We've stepped up testing for the freight industry, so the rail freight workers and port workers can get tested from today at Port of Melbourne, and the truck stop testing at Broadford also opens up later on today, and we intend to open up another truck testing station tomorrow morning, which we'll talk to the industry about. We continue, of course, to monitor risks inbound from interstate. 1,900 arrivals checked at Melbourne Airport yesterday. Really high levels of compliance, well above 90%. And my thanks again to the officers working at the airport and their ongoing diligence on that front. We also made 380 household visits yesterday. Well over 95% of people were complying with the testing requirement if they were red zone arrivals. In fact, 99%, I'm sorry, had already completed their testing requirements, and no referrals made to Victoria Police. And again, my thanks to all those over 10,000 red zone returnees for complying with those testing protocols and those isolation protocols. We can see how important that is. And of course, with the 14,000 primary close contacts, their isolation protocols are critically important at this time. Finally, on vaccination, 16,751 vaccines delivered yesterday here in Victoria. Again, we're seeing some really strong uptakes of our vaccination options. And please, I'd encourage all people, if you're eligible for Pfizer, please come and chase after those remaining Pfizer slots we have available over the next few weeks, both first dose and second dose. We also have an additional set of Pfizer appointments being made available to those priority workers, and those appointments are being pursued well. Finally, my thanks to everybody who is part of this huge effort. We now have testing teams working literally across our entire state, pathology teams working day and night, and of course our clinicians across all of our hospitals working in Tier 3 PPE, taking those extra steps to make sure we're ready to manage this outbreak.